Ramadan, 87.9 FM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's episode we will talk about time management. And as soon as we say time management, our mind will go to Surah Al-Asr. Surah Al-Asr is 103rd surah of the Quran. It has been referred to as a matchless example of comprehensiveness because it explains in 3 brief verses the way to success and the way to ruin. Imam al-Shafi'i said that if people consider this surah, it would be sufficient in the way of guidance. A number of ahadith speak about the high esteem in which the Sahaba hold this surah, of course. Accordingly, whenever any 2 or more Sahabi meet, they would not part company without reciting Surah Al-Asr. So, Surah Al-Asr means, by Al-Asr, the time, verily man is deep in loss, except for those who believe and do good deeds, urge one another to the truth and urge one another to patience. Quran 103. This surah opens with admissions to humankind. Allah takes an oath by time and declares that humankind is in a state of loss. Every single human being, man or woman, is in a state of loss, except those who strive and do 4 things: believe, do righteous deeds, and recommend one another to truth, and be patient. The translation for the word Asr would be time. However, Asr has a much deeper meaning than other Arabic words meaning time. Dahr. Dahr means time with no limits placed upon it. Asr, on the other hand, means time that is limited, time that will come to an end. Allah is swearing an oath by time, a time that is limited, a time that will end, and a time that must be squeezed or pressed so that we, humankind, get as much from our limited time as possible. Allah is also asking us to reflect on the passage of time. Another meaning that is given to the word Asr is the declining day. The time of the Asr prayer when the day is winding down, coming to an end. Allah is telling us that our time is short and limited, and if we do not make the most of it, we are surely the losers. Verily, Allah says we are in loss. The Arabic word for loss is khusr, and it is the opposite of profit, though also carrying the meaning of bankruptcy. In this context, it could mean that humankind will lose their main capital for the hereafter if instead of using this life to gain by faith and deeds, they bargain it away with disbelief and sin. Allah is constantly warning us, and here He is once more saying, wait, think, and save yourself. Save yourself by aiming to have 4 character trials. To believe. The first one, of course, to believe. The first step of salvation is through upholding the correct belief and adhering to it with convictions and certainty. Number 2, to do righteous deeds. The way in which we gain this certainty is by doing the actions that are blessings to Allah. We demonstrate our belief through our actions or righteous deeds. Our deeds must be performed in accordance to what is Quran and the Sunnah. They should not be according to our whims and desires. The true sign of success is to obey Allah's commandments and to resist the desires to sin. To encourage, recommend, or connect to truth. Number 3, in Arabic is haqq. Allah is telling us to remain each other and encourage each other to be faithful to the truth and to let it stand out clearly by striving for justice. Number 4, to recommend one another to sabr, patience, is the 4th trial, and establishing a commitment to haqq would not be possible without sabr. Being stead in following the commandments of Allah requires patience. Staying away from sins requires patience as well. And not despairing in time of calamities requires patience. Ibn al-Qayyim explained that having sabr meant having the ability to stop ourselves from despairing, to refrain from complaining, and to control ourselves in time of sadness and worry. This surah advised those who believe to act collectively to strengthen their position in the hereafter. It implies asking and inviting people to do righteous deeds and stopping them from falling into sin and disbelief. The revelation of the surah occurred during difficult times. The early Muslims had to contend with oppression, and Surah Al-Asr gave them strength and confidence in the face of their trials and tribulations. If you study the seerah, life of Prophet Muhammad, with a specific focus on his daily and regular routines, it is an eye-opener. How meticulous was in planning every aspect of his day. How he prioritized tasks, how serious he was about keeping his word, and how he kept his speech precious and not indulging in idle talk. Here are 5 lessons on time management that we can draw from Prophet's protective and purpose drive life. First thing is to be an early riser. The Prophet said, "Oh Allah, bless my nation in the early mornings." What they do early in the mornings, of course, said by Ibn Majah. Schedule your important tasks early in the day, especially those who require mental exercise, and watch the blessings from Allah that will do magic. Number 2, schedule your day around the 5 daily prayers. No compromises. The discipline to give up all your work and life's distractions to perform Salah strengthen your willpower to live a purposeful life. Just as you endeavor to be punctual for meetings with your colleagues and project teammates, you should perform your Salah on time. Number 3, prioritize and be constant. If we look into the surge, we can deduce that the Prophet's day was divided into 3 main parts. The first part was spiritual development. This was the time he dedicated solely to Allah. It was typically the late part of the night when the Prophet would recharge himself spiritually for the next day and boost his resolve to face the challenges in his mission. It was during the night that he engaged in. It was through the night that he engaged in intimate communication with his Lord, the source of all strength and empowerment, through qiyam, night prayers, dua, supplications, and dhikr. Number 2, family affairs. The Prophet was constant in making time for his family matters. Number 3, personal social affairs. He constantly made time for his companions, so no one felt neglected. Figure out the real priorities in your life. What is worth spending an hour on? What comes first? What is the must do and what is good to do? Allocate time constantly to activities that matter. Unless you plan for and schedule time for community work, studies, or attending to parents, your spouse, or children on a daily basis, they are not considered important enough to you. Chances are you will eventually start neglecting these high priorities actions. So number 4 into our list, which were the 5 lessons we take from management. Hasten in doing goods. Prophet Muhammad has a sense of urgency in doing goods and warns others against procrastination. So narrated by Aqba bin Harith, once the Prophet offered the Asr prayer and then hurriedly went to his house and returned immediately. I or someone else asked him as to what was the matter, and he said, "I left at house a piece of gold which was from that charity, and I disliked to let it remain a night in my house, so I got distracted." Narrated by Bukhari. So procrastinations do not appreciate time nor the means and the opportunities that Allah gives them to be protective. Each day has its own shares of work, and each time has its own shares of obligations. Therefore, in the Prophet's life, there was no such thing as idle time. Number 5, honoring the time of others. Prophet Muhammad was sensitive to his companions' time and needs. His khutbah were brief, constant, and powerful. Aim to arrive for meetings, classes, and events 10 minutes before they are scheduled to start. If you are running late, inform the other parties. Honoring others' time is part of fulfilling your promise. Breaking promises not only causes inconvenience to others, but also causes you to lose their respect. There are 7 time management tips which will help all of us in our life. Number 1 tip. Work in small chunks. Don't try to get something done in one setting, especially if it takes a lot of time. Split it into small chunks so that it's done by the deadline without affecting your other tasks. Number 2, or tip number 2, let's say, discipline is key. To be successful in anything in both worlds, self-discipline is necessary. This applies to time management as well. One needs to be very strict on oneself to stick to time, stick to schedules, and not get distracted from priorities. Alhamdulillah, Islam teaches us self-discipline through our daily prayers, especially trying to pray with khushu', as well as through Hajj, fasting, and other aspects of our religion. We need to take the discipline we learn from this and apply it to other areas of our life, including time management. It takes discipline to make schedule, checklist, and even more discipline to stick to these schedules. It takes discipline to ignore distractions and avoid unnecessary phone conversation. This is a habit all Muslims need to develop. Tip number 3, eliminate time wasters. For people who don't constantly monitor their day, a lot of time is wasted in useless activities. Laghu, as the Quran refers to it. A simple step to avoid time wasters is to keep a log for a few days of everything you do in a day. You will be surprised how much time it is wasted in useless activities that do not benefit you in this world or the next. By cutting down our time wasters to just the necessary means of relaxation and fun, we can free up a few more hours in the day for other beneficial projects. So, common time wasters that we all do every single day, such as wasting time on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, using different non-beneficial websites, talking on the phone for hours and hours and hours, which maybe this can lead to sins like backbiting, television, video games, and oversleeping, all those stuff and many stuff that we waste our time, or maybe we just stay doing nothing, that also wastes our time. So by cutting all those stuff or the bad habit that we waste our time on, by just cutting it and just the necessary amount you need to function properly, is like the necessary amount you need to function properly in a day is 6 to 8 hours sleep, 2 to 3 hours of fun, 8 hours of work or study, and we are able to free time for the things which matters as well. In Quran 23, ayah 1 and 3, it says, successful are the believers, those who stay away from laghu, things which waste time. So us, as believers and as Muslims, we should stay away from those stuff that waste time. Our time is so important, and we need to use it wisely. This leads us to tip number 4. We need to make a schedule. So making schedule. It is important to make your schedule depend on yourself. Some people make a schedule daily. Other people make it weekly. Other people maybe want to make it monthly because they function well this way. So it depends. Every single one is different from another. So see what schedule works with you and use it. I'm going to talk about the weekly schedule because I prefer it more or less to a daily one, as it gives you more time to schedule more things and allow for planning in advance. Stephen Covey says about weekly schedules, organizing one a weekly basis provide much greater balance and content than daily planning. Business, education, and many other fields of society operate within the framework of the week. Designated certain days for focus, investment, and other for relaxation or inspiration. Such a schedule help one to plan ahead for the week and will prevent a person from oversleeping, wasting time. Also note that the schedule should be flexible enough to be adjustable for sudden emergencies. So I recommend leaving 1 hour a day open for any adjustments and any emergencies that you have. Tip number 5, plan your day around Salah. This is the most important tip because many people will say, I don't have time for Salah. Many students will say that. Many people who work will say that. Many people who can't find a place to pray will say that. Why? Because we didn't have I'm saying that, of course, maybe your schedule, your study schedule can't fit with the prayers. Your work schedule can't fit prayers. You can't really have time to pray, but try your best to fit your prayer around your day. It's really important. Like some Muslims make the mistake of trying to fit Salah into their daily schedule and complain that they can't find the time to pray. They're mistaken twofold, trying to find time instead of making time. And the second one is fitting Salah in your schedule instead of planning your schedule around Salah. So as a Muslim, Salah should be our highest priority in the day. And as such, when making our time schedule, the first thing we need to fill in our Salah times so that nothing else clashes with it. In fact, fill in the Salah times in red and bold writing so that you know that those times are off limit to anything else. Do that and you will never find yourself in a position in which you don't have time to pray. Tip number 6, which many of us as well, we need to learn it. So we need to learn to say no. How many times did someone ask you for a favor and you couldn't decline it? How many times people asked you for stuff to do? Friends, family, colleagues, a lot of time, but you didn't learn to say no to them, so you just take it and you just do it. So we need to learn to say no. No is important, especially if we're going to cut our schedule and going to ruin half of our day or all our day, or going to ruin all our schedule. So think about what the biggest time waster. Usually it has something to do with excessive socializing, whether it's long phone call, instant messaging, social networking, or hanging out. Much of our day goes into useless discussion. The only way to avoid this is to learn to decline such offer. Politely, of course. I'm not saying don't phone people or visit them, but if a phone call is going to be so long, it's cutting into your work time, there is nothing wrong to excuse yourself and say you need to go back to your work. Do this often, people will get the message and will only contact you when necessary or when they know you have time to chat. Declining offers for long chats and useless conversation not only will help you stick to a schedule and accomplish more, but will protect you from sins like backbiting and gossip as well. Number 4, beneficial hobbies. This is really important because I'm not saying that by doing your plan and, time management is all about time management. And you need to give time for your beloved ones, for your family, for your friends, for activities that you like, for everything, and especially beneficial hobbies and hobbies that is benefit, maybe sports, maybe reading, maybe, all those kind of stuff is beneficial. But I'm just saying, we need to schedule our time, and we need to work on the time management and avoid the stuff that we waste our time on. Because there are plenty, such as Facebook. If you open Facebook, you will never go away from it except after a few hours, like 3, 4. That's some people. Other people, Instagram and social media nowadays is just the main waster of the time. TV, of course, for younger generation, for children, young adult and adult and mature adult is social media nowadays. And all different, we discuss all of those stuff that waste our time. But I'm not saying that you cut it straight away as well. It's hard to cut it straight away, but try to reduce it. So try to reduce those stuff, or see what's your weakness and try to reduce it every time until you avoid or maybe you don't even touch those stuff that you waste your time on. For example, you're not going to go on the TV and watch anything. You're not going to use social media. So try and train yourself. It's all about training. It's all about doing it over a long period of time. So if you're going to do it for like 3 months, let's say, the scheduling and this training yourself, I think you're going to have it as a life habit. So try to do it. So tip number 7 is special hobbies. As we said, we all have that time of the day and that day of the week and that month of the year sometimes in which we are tired, don't want to do any work and just want to have fun. There is nothing wrong with this as long as means of fun is halal and you do not go into excess. However, even better is if we establish hobbies which are both productive and fun. This could be a physical sport, reading, watching beneficial video, playing educational puzzles, solving games, going out with your children, having fun with your family, planning a day out with your beloved one, with your colleague, with your friends. It's really, really important. And the list of beneficial hobbies go on and on and on. Inshallah, if we establish beneficial hobbies, then even our fun time become protective and is not wasted. Inshallah. So try to do all of those if you can. Try to train yourself. This is really, really important. Nothing will come in one night. You need to do it over a period of time. Trust me, time management is the hardest. If you master it, that's it. You're on the correct place, the right place. So try to do it. Don't give up from first time. Don't give up from first week or first month. Even if you didn't stick to schedules, it's fine. Amend your schedule. That's why we said part of it to amend it. Leave a place to amend it. So it's really, really, really important to amend it. Don't give up. Be positive all the time. That's important, to be positive. Don't make yourself go down about it. Just be positive. And inshallah, we're all going to have a good time management of our time and we're not going to waste it. Look after yourself, stay safe, and inshallah, I'll see you in the next episode. مع السلامة.
عن أبي محمد الحسن ابن علي ابن أبي طالب سبط رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وريحان